It's one of the most talked about Western movies ever made. It had a powerhouse cast, a mustache that inspired countless memes, and unforgettable gunfight scenes that still stick with fans of the genre today. But Tombstone hides a story that most people completely miss, and the person who finally helps reveal it isn't Kurt Russell or Val Kilmer. It's Sam Elliott, the deep-voiced actor who played Virgil Earp. Sam understood something about how this movie really came together, and who was truly guiding things behind the scenes, something many fans have never fully connected. Once you learn what Sam Elliott was trying so hard to protect during production, you'll look at Tombstone in a completely different way. The movie that became a classic was much closer to falling apart than most people realize. Before we get into what Sam Elliott knew, you need to understand just how close Tombstone came to never being made at all. Back in 1993, Hollywood had mostly given up on Westerns. A genre that had ruled the big screen for decades was now seen as yesterday's news. Then came Kevin Jarre, the screenwriter behind the Oscar-winning Civil War film Glory. Jarre wrote a Tombstone script packed with history, detail, and unforgettable characters. It was so impressive that it attracted an incredible lineup of talent. Kurt Russell signed on as Wyatt Earp. Val Kilmer became Doc Holliday. Sam Elliott stepped into the role of Virgil, with Bill Paxton as Morgan. The cast also included Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Stephen Lang, Billy Bob Thornton, and legendary actor Robert Mitchum as the film's narrator. That lineup alone was enough to get people talking. Here's something many viewers never hear about. Kevin Jarre wasn't just the writer. He was also set to direct the movie, making this his first time leading a major film from behind the camera. Jarre was completely dedicated to making everything feel true to the time period. He insisted the actors grow real 1880s-style mustaches, carefully shaped and waxed with curled ends, just like the real lawmen of that era. It may sound like a small detail, but the cast took it seriously. Those mustaches became a symbol of their commitment to Jarre's vision and the world he wanted to create. That passion for authenticity was one of the biggest reasons the actors believed in the project. They didn't think they were just making another Western, they believed they were creating the Western that would stand above all the rest. But then everything started to go sideways. Kevin Jarre was an outstanding writer, yet directing a huge historical Western filled with horses, massive crowds, complicated action scenes, and a star-studded cast turned out to be an entirely different challenge. The pressure kept growing, and before long, the production was heading into serious trouble. Things started falling apart almost right away. Kevin Jarre quickly slipped behind schedule and struggled to get the footage he needed. Reports say he wanted every shot to look like something from legendary filmmaker John Ford, with huge, beautiful landscapes and carefully framed scenes. The problem was that kind of filmmaking moved too slowly for a production this demanding. Just 1 month after filming began, producer Andy Vajna made a shocking decision and fired Jarre. At that moment, Tombstone looked like it was on the edge of disaster. The cast was frustrated, the crew was divided, and the production was in complete chaos. The movie was only partly finished, there was no director in charge, and time was running out fast. It seemed like everything was about to fall apart, but what happened next became one of Hollywood's most fascinating behind-the-scenes stories, and Sam Elliott was there to witness it all. After Jarre left, the studio hired George P. Cosmatos, a filmmaker known for action hits like Rambo, First Blood Part 2, and Cobra. Officially, Cosmatos became the director of Tombstone, and for years, that was the version of events everyone accepted. But later, a very different story came to light. Years afterward, Kurt Russell shared what he said really happened in an interview with True West magazine, and his account surprised a lot of fans. According to Russell, he was the person making many of the creative decisions that shaped the film. He had helped secure roughly $25 million in financing from Andy Vajna, and had put his own reputation behind getting the project made. When Jarre was removed, Russell said the producers wanted him to step in and take full control of directing. but instead of accepting the official title, he turned it down. He didn't want directing credit or the attention that came with it. Instead, Russell suggested an unusual arrangement. George P. Cosmatos would serve as the public director, while Russell said he would quietly help guide the production behind the scenes. According to Russell, every night he would meet with Cosmatos and hand him a detailed shot list for the following day's work. Russell explained that he would go to George's room, hand over the complete plan for every scene, and that became their routine. The next morning, Cosmatos would lead the production, using those plans as filming continued. Russell also said he made one important promise, that as long as Cosmatos was alive, he would never publicly discuss their private arrangement. For many years, he kept that promise. George P. Cosmatos passed away in 2005. It wasn't until the following year that Kurt Russell publicly shared his version of the story in an interview with True West magazine. Another surprising detail? Russell said the idea of bringing Cosmatos onto the project came from none other than Sylvester Stallone. This is where Sam Elliott's role in the story becomes especially interesting. If the movie's biggest star is also quietly shaping how the film is made, and major changes start happening to the script, everyone else on the cast faces a choice. They can accept the new direction, or they can push back. Most of the cast moved forward with the changes. But one person reportedly had a much harder time with them, and that's a part of the story many fans have never heard. Once Russell began helping guide the production, he also supported a decision that would completely reshape Tombstone. Looking at Kevin Jarre's original screenplay, he reportedly believed it was simply too large to film with the time and budget that remained. So the script started getting trimmed in a big way. Russell and producer James Jacks reportedly removed around 30 pages from the screenplay. Entire storylines disappeared. Several supporting characters who originally had much larger roles, including characters played by Billy Zane and Jason Priestley, ended up with only brief moments on screen. The famous Earp Vendetta ride, which had been a major section of Jarre's script, was also shortened dramatically. Russell later explained that he wanted the movie to stay tightly focused on one central relationship, the powerful bond between Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. He described their friendship as one of the greatest relationships between two men, built on loyalty, respect, and a connection that didn't need many words. To make that relationship stand out, many other parts of the story had to become smaller. What makes this even more surprising is that Russell said he didn't try to protect his own role. According to the True West account, he repeatedly encouraged Jarre, who was still rewriting pages, to hand important dialogue to other characters instead. He reportedly kept saying, "Give that one to Morgan. Give that to the other characters." His goal, he said, was to make the movie feel like a true ensemble, instead of centering everything on Wyatt Earp. Val Kilmer was just as confident in his performance. According to Russell's account, Kilmer joked that Russell could remove all of Doc Holliday's lines if he wanted because he believed he'd still steal every scene with nothing more than his presence and that unforgettable little drinking cup in his hand. The cast pulled together to keep the production moving. Powers Booth, Bill Paxton, and many of the others accepted smaller roles and less screen time under the blazing Arizona sun because they wanted the movie to survive. Most of them agreed to the major script cuts. But one actor reportedly refused to back down, and his response has become part of Tombstone legend. "If you cut a word, I'll kill you." Sam Elliott played Virgil Earp, the oldest Earp brother, the steady voice of reason, and the man determined to bring law to a town filled with chaos. As the script kept changing, Elliot reportedly reached a point where he wasn't willing to give up anymore. According to the True West account of the production, while other cast members accepted losing dialogue and while Val Kilmer was said to have joked about cutting all of Doc Holliday's lines, Sam Elliott delivered a warning that nobody on set seemed to forget. According to that account, Elliot said that if anyone cut even a single word from his dialogue, "I'll kill you." Most people took it as the kind of rough, joking comment that can happen during a stressful production. But behind the humor was something much deeper, and that's the part many fans never fully realized. Sam Elliott wasn't simply trying to protect his own role. He was trying to protect what he believed made the story special. He had read Kevin Jarre's original screenplay and reportedly thought it was one of the finest scripts he had ever seen. To Elliot, those missing scenes weren't just extra pages, they helped give every character more purpose and made the entire story feel richer. In a 1993 interview with Entertainment Weekly, Elliot spoke openly about how much he admired Jarre's original script. He said it was one of the best screenplays he had ever read. Then he made an even more surprising comment that still gets fans talking today. Elliot explained that if the version he had first received had looked like the shortened script that was eventually filmed, he believed he probably would have turned the role down. Think about that for a second. The actor who delivered one of the most respected performances as Virgil Earp felt the final shooting script had lost much of what originally made it so powerful. From Elliot's point of view, the cuts had removed the connective tissue that gave the story its emotional weight. Nearly 30 pages of character moments and development had disappeared, and he believed those scenes were a big part of what gave Tombstone its heart and its lasting impact. To Sam Elliott, the Tombstone audiences know today was still a great movie, but in his view, it was only part of something even bigger that never fully made it to the screen. And there was a very personal reason he felt that way. Virgil Earp was one of the characters most affected by the script changes. In Kevin Jarre's original screenplay, Virgil stood as the family's strongest lawman, the older brother whose sense of duty helped push the Earps toward wearing the badge. Many of the quieter scenes that showed his character, his values, and his relationships were among the moments that reportedly disappeared as the script was shortened. That's why Sam Elliott's stand meant so much to him. He wasn't just trying to save a few lines of dialogue. He was fighting for the heart of Virgil Earp and for the slower, richer, more character-driven movie that had convinced him to join the project in the first place. That creative tug-of-war became an invisible part of Tombstone itself. On one side was Kurt Russell, who believed the film needed to become tighter, faster, and more focused around its central emotional story. On the other was Sam Elliott, who wanted to preserve more of Kevin Jarre's original vision and the extra character moments that gave the script its depth. Those two approaches quietly shaped the movie audiences eventually saw. This is where the story becomes especially fascinating for longtime Tombstone fans. Sam Elliott wasn't the only person who later felt the original screenplay might have become something even larger if circumstances had been different. Ironically, Kurt Russell himself, the person who supported many of the cuts, also spoke with admiration about Jarre's original script. In his 2006 interview with True West magazine, Russell described that first version as The Godfather, a Western Godfather. He used that comparison to explain just how ambitious and different he believed the original screenplay had been before production forced major changes. Stephen Lang, who played Ike Clanton, shared similar praise. He also compared Jarre's screenplay to The Godfather, set in 1880s Arizona, saying he believed the script was exceptional. That's an incredible thing to hear from people who were actually there. Several members of the cast and crew looked back on the original screenplay as something truly special that never reached the screen in its complete form because of scheduling pressures, budget limits, and the upheaval caused by changing directors only weeks into filming. Those what-if questions have stayed with Kurt Russell for years. In a 2026 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, more than 3 decades after Tombstone premiered, Russell reflected on the production and said he still believed the film could have been way better. That's remarkable when you consider that Tombstone is already widely regarded as one of the greatest westerns ever made. Even after all these years, Russell suggested he still thinks about the version they hoped to make and the version that slipped away. And here's one of the most surprising parts of the whole story. The missing footage may still be out there. Kurt Russell has said that he was given the original material filmed for Tombstone and that a large amount of unseen footage still exists somewhere. For years, fans have hoped for a true extended version that restores more of Kevin Jarre's original vision, the version Russell once compared to the godfather of Westerns. Russell has even suggested that it might be possible someday. He has said he would need to go back through his old production notes and Jarre's screenplay to figure out how everything fit together. He also mentioned rediscovering the final hospital scene he wrote between Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. But so far, that expanded version has never appeared, leaving the larger vision of Tombstone just out of reach. That's what makes this story so unforgettable. The movie audiences celebrate today became a classic, yet several of the people who helped create it have also spoken about the version they believe might have been even stronger. Their memories are filled with the scenes that were never finished, the pages that disappeared, and the possibilities that never had the chance to reach the screen. Once you realize how close this production came to falling apart, the number of near misses becomes incredible. One change after another could have created a completely different Tombstone. Take the casting, for example. Before Val Kilmer became the unforgettable Doc Holliday, Willem Dafoe was reportedly considered for the role. According to accounts from the production, that casting never moved forward because Disney was concerned about the reaction to Dafoe's earlier film, The Last Temptation of Christ. Whether that decision changed movie history is something fans still debate today. There was another surprising idea as well. Producer Andy Vajna reportedly asked Kurt Russell what he thought about switching roles and playing Doc Holliday instead, while Richard Gere would take on Wyatt Earp. Just imagine how different that movie would have felt. The chemistry between Wyatt and Doc, which became one of Tombstone's biggest strengths, might have gone in a completely different direction. Then came another major challenge. While Tombstone was racing through production, Kevin Costner was making his own Wyatt Earp film at almost the exact same time. Costner had previously been connected to the Tombstone project and had worked with Kevin Jarre during its early development before choosing to move forward with a separate version of the famous lawman story. According to several people involved with Tombstone, the competition became intense. They have claimed that Costner used his influence within Hollywood to encourage studios not to finance or distribute the rival film. Whether or not every detail unfolded exactly that way, there's no question that two major Wyatt Earp movies were competing for attention at the same time, adding even more pressure to a production that was already fighting to survive. Some people involved with the production have even claimed that Kevin Costner tried to secure many of the available authentic Western costumes, leaving the Tombstone team scrambling to find wardrobe pieces from suppliers in Europe. Whether every detail unfolded exactly that way is still debated, but one thing is clear: the production faced challenge after challenge before it ever reached theaters. Tombstone survived a fired director, major script changes, constant production pressure, surprising casting twists, and fierce competition from another Wyatt Earp movie. Against all odds, it made it to the finish line. Then came the biggest surprise of all. When Tombstone arrived in theaters during Christmas 1993, it exceeded expectations. The film went on to earn more than $73 million worldwide and became one of the most successful modern westerns. Meanwhile, Kevin Costner's Wyatt Earp received a much more mixed response and didn't match the same level of box office success. That's where this story takes its biggest twist. The very script cuts that Sam Elliott believed took away much of the movie's emotional depth may also have helped make it a hit with audiences. By narrowing the story and placing the spotlight on the unforgettable relationship between Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, the finished film gained a pace and energy that viewers still love today. Those sharp edits helped create a movie packed with memorable scenes, unforgettable dialogue, and performances people continue quoting decades later. Tombstone became a cult favorite, not despite its streamlined approach, but many would argue, partly because of it. So who had the stronger vision? Was it Sam Elliott, who wanted to preserve Kevin Jarre's larger, more detailed screenplay? Or was it Kurt Russell, who believed the story needed to become leaner and more focused to survive production? That's the question that continues to spark debate among fans. There's a strong case that both perspectives had value. The version audiences received is fast, exciting, and packed with iconic moments. It keeps moving from beginning to end without losing its momentum, and many fans believe that focus is one of the movie's greatest strengths. If the production hadn't been streamlined, it's possible the film might never have been completed, or it could have become far more difficult for audiences to connect with. At the same time, the original screenplay continues to inspire curiosity. Based on comments from Sam Elliott, Kurt Russell, Stephen Lang, and others who worked on the film, many involved believed Kevin Jarre's first draft contained an even bigger and more ambitious story. Whether it truly could have become a Western masterpiece on the scale they imagined will never be known. But that's exactly why the legend of Tombstone continues to grow. Fans aren't just talking about the classic they can watch, they're also fascinated by the remarkable version that, according to many of the people who made it, almost came to life, but never quite reached the screen. Sam Elliott had held that original screenplay in his hands. He had read the scenes that never made it to the screen, the quieter character moments, the slower conversations, and the emotional connections that gave every gunfight even greater meaning. He knew what was contained in those missing pages, and he understood that once they were cut, they were likely gone forever. That's the part of the story many Tombstone fans never realized. When you watch Tombstone today, you're not just watching the movie that reached theaters. According to the people who made it, you're also seeing the result of countless difficult decisions, unexpected setbacks, and creative compromises. Behind every unforgettable scene is a production that fought to survive, with actors and filmmakers adapting to challenges almost every step of the way. Every iconic moment that remains on screen is part of a story that very nearly turned out completely differently. For Sam Elliott, Virgil Earp was more than just another role. He believed deeply in Kevin Jarre's original screenplay and wasn't afraid to speak up when he felt important parts of it were slipping away. Whether you agree with his perspective or with Kurt Russell's more streamlined approach, one thing is clear: both men cared passionately about making Tombstone the best film they could under extraordinary circumstances. That's one of the reasons this behind-the-scenes story is still talked about decades later. Maybe that's the real secret of Tombstone. It's remembered not only because of its unforgettable performances, legendary quotes, and thrilling action, but also because of the incredible story behind its creation. Fans continue to wonder what the complete version might have looked like, and that mystery has become part of the film's lasting legacy. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other Tombstone fans who love discovering hidden stories like this.